Hey everybody, welcome to Pokemalarkey. My name is Shawn Shaler. Jesse Lobbs could not be here with me today because, well, actually we both work pretty complicated jobs where weird things come up, and I'm sure a lot of you do as well, so we hope you understand. It sucks that we've not been able to commit to the podcast as much as we want, but we really want to still put out something every single week. No matter what it is, I think putting something out and keeping a regular schedule is good. So we're trying to craft an idea for when these things happen, when these emergencies arise from one or the other, that we can fall back on to produce some kind of content. So today, for example, I thought it would be a really cool idea to go back and look at the very first episode we recorded and provide some commentary on what I liked and what I didn't like, maybe how we've grown and gotten a lot different over time. Again, we know it's not super exciting, but I hope that some content is better than no content. And for me, it was kind of fun to go back and relive that first episode. And in the future, of course, Jesse and I will always try to improve our commitment to our podcast and to our craft and get better. But I know that things like this are just going to happen. So it's really nice to have a backup plan for when it does. And we'll see how this one goes. Here is Pokemalarkey, episode 1. Shawn, that's my friend Jesse, and we have been conceiving this beautiful idea for months upon months and then procrastinating on said idea for months upon months. Because
And forget not, there is a pandemic right now, which has prevented us from being together.
We have good reason to procrastinate. Unlike when I usually procrastinate, which is totally unfounded and unrealistic. This time, there's a reason. But we are so excited to finally stop procrastinating and get to this because we've been talking about it for a long time. We have always wanted to try, always. I make it sound like always is in decades. Always for the past 6 months.
Eternally.
Wanted to try. Deep down inside, it's kind of an eternal goal for me, is to have a Pokemon podcast where we talk about Pokemon. I'm on another podcast where we do something similar with Avatar: The Last Airbender, but the difference is the Avatar: The Last Airbender is very, very deep, very detailed, and story-driven, and it's hard to make fun of, honestly. And I thrive on comedy, and it's important to have that. And that's why I think that Pokemon is going to be a prime candidate for a podcast. And my friend Jesse, it was actually his idea initially, and he's a huge Pokemon fan, and I think he's going to enjoy making fun of Pokemon with me. I'm looking forward to making fun of Pokemon with you.
There's also the benefit, Shawn, of Avatar gives us 3 seasons if you exclude Legend of Korra. Meanwhile, Pokemon has gone on for a literal eternity. So one thing Shawn and I have discussed as, people who loved it a lot growing up, you're growing up and you eventually get to the age where it's hard to keep up with it because you're trying to do all of the other things. And some of you did a much better job at that than we did, but we are very, very behind on the Pokemon franchise. So one of our thoughts with this podcast is it would let us catch back up, or at least we're never going to get caught up probably, but at least we can bring ourselves
with that
further
attitude.
along.
Come on, Jesse.
If I could just block out maybe a year and not go to work or, use the bathroom or eat, I could probably get caught up.
I'm still going to go to the bathroom. I'm still going to eat. I would skip sleeping and work, though, absolutely, to get caught up on
See,
Pokemon.
Shawn's not as committed as I am. I'm going to blow out my bladder for this.
No, because I love food, first of all, and second of all, because food has repercussions, Jesse, and I'm not willing to deal with those in that way. But you mentioned, I guess that is really cool about Pokemon, is that now we're in a stage where the popularity has spiked because the generation that liked it originally now has disposable income within the past 10 years.
Some of them.
And it's still relevant in a new way. It's not just parents bringing back these old video games and crap I have back here.
Right.
Like, look, Timmy, this is what I played when I was young. It's like, no, Dad, this is still the same Pokemon going on, the same universe. That's how long it's been going on. And so much as, full disclosure, Avatar is my favorite show. Legend of Korra and Avatar together. That is my favorite show. It's my favorite series. Beautiful story. I'm shameless plug for my other podcast. But what is fun about Pokemon is, well, thank you so much. I love doing it. And again, the show deserves it. It deserves all the podcasts in the world. But what's fun about Pokemon is that it is just universally lived on and continued to grow in every possible way. And also that, as I mentioned, it's not the most serious subject matter, which is great and suits me to a T. But I think what you're leading to before I so rudely interrupted, you'll get used to that, interrupt people a lot on podcasts, not on purpose, is that why we wanted to do the podcast, why it was important to us. What it's so much easier given the choice to do something or to do nothing. I love doing nothing. That's my preference. So something is driving us to do this thing. Why is it so important to us that we're going to try to dedicate time from our lives to go back and sort of relive these childhood experiences, get caught up through modern day? Why is it important to you, Jesse?
Well, I think for both Shawn and I, and not to speak for him, it was exciting to have the Gala region. I can't speak. But
Gala
most
was my
recent,
guess. I don't know though.
yeah, the most recent region, um, and just being excited to have it on the Switch are the Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, and seeing it in a new format. And it's so cool that you continue to have these new regions, but while you're there, you still get like Pikachu or Charmander or Squirtle, and these Pokemon that you know and love from your own childhood, um, that mean the world to you still. I was telling Shawn, and I only found this yesterday. I have been so desperately searching for what got me into Pokemon, which is this amazing video that the Pokemon Company made for Toys R Us, which features it's a live action woman, Ash's Aunt Hillary, which is crazy as hell.
I didn't
Um,
realize it was a live human pretending to
yes,
be Ash.
there's three. There's three live humans in
My
this short
goodness.
video, and I remember my mom bringing home this VHS, and she's like, "I don't know what this was, but they were giving it away for free as part of like a promotion back in 1998 before
We
this
call it child cocaine,
started."
and we're giving it
Yes,
away for free. It's a gateway
yes,
cocaine.
it is fantastic though, and I remember, plopping it into the VHS in 1998 and being transfixed about Ash's Aunt Hillary telling me about her nephew, and he's 10 years old and he's about to get his Pokemon license and go into the world. And I remember being so transfixed, probably because in 1998 I was 7 or 8, so I was almost 10 years old, and that there's a world where this 10-year-old could go out on his own with these amazing pocket monsters to battle and raise and fight. And it's just the coolest thing. And my sister and I, even before Pokemon, before we got our hands on like Red and Blue, when those video games came out later that year, we were already playing, pretend as if we had Pokemon. We didn't really know what they were even for yet,
That's
besides this
adorable.
VHS. Yeah, it was so cute, and now I'm still just as, as I mentioned already, uh, took a little bit of a break. Not that I didn't love Pokemon. It's just eventually there was so much of it and there were other things going on in my life. And now I found my way back to it, and I am just as excited as I was back in 1998.
Fun twist. Aunt Hillary actually on Ash's dad's side. Yeah, who knew that? No, I would love to watch that video someday. That would be astounding. Love to see
You
it.
should. It also includes Ash's science teacher, this black guy who explains how Pikachu works.
Like
And
electrically or how
yes,
Pokemon work. Okay.
electrically.
Okay.
Uh, and then you get Misty's best friend who complains about Ash the whole like 5 minutes she's on there. It's
Misty
a
doesn't
very
have friends.
weird
That's a lie.
collection of characters. That's what I thought too.
She is too mean. She
She's
is
too
too big of a
mean.
brat. No, even brats have friends sometimes, I think. I'm very jealous. I can't wait till hopefully you'll have the opportunity to dig this video up so we can watch it. I would be enthralled by this video. So Jesse, one thing I want to ask you, we both kind of alluded to the idea of a going away phase or a falling out phase. Again, not for any distaste or anything like that, but things happen. I was just curious if you'd share kind of when yours occurred.
Yeah, I think it was right after the Hoenn region. At least that was um, the last video game I remember playing. Um, and I don't know. I think it became too much to keep up with, and I think they moved from the Game Boy Advance to the Nintendo DS, and I think at that time I had already committed to like the PlayStation, so I was like focused on those kind of video games, um, and I just sadly left Pokemon by the wayside. I think if I had been able to
They're still
continue,
there for you, Jesse. They
they
didn't leave your
are.
side.
They didn't abandon me the way I abandoned them, which is heartbreaking. Um, but I I also think if I had been able to, and then you get older and things start going on like even like Saturday mornings when cartoons would normally be on, when you'd catch Pokemon. So eventually I only made it as far as I think even Johto. I don't think I made it into the Hoenn region with the anime. So I was really stunted, and I guess that helped lose the enthusiasm because I didn't have as much of it going on, and without you know the TV show in addition to that, I just fell out of it. But as you said, they have not abandoned me.
They've always been there for us.
What about you, Shawn?
About how old were you though, if you don't mind? Was that like a high
I have
school
no
thing or
idea.
okay?
I don't know time or numbers, so this is hard for me.
Gotcha. And I don't have a great grasp on it either, so I'll make you feel better in a minute. So Pokemon was important to me because I've always had a fascination with collecting things. First of all, trading cards and video games. It was a perfect cross section of I loved JRPGs, so I loved the video games first, and then the collectible aspects of the card. And I didn't touch the show till quite a bit later, and I was also way behind on everything. So that is why it is important to me. Is it hit like a beautiful cross section of just things that I already absolutely loved. I was like, this is perfect.
Perfect.
Except the difference was that unlike JRPGs, my friends were actually enjoying this too. It wasn't just me. No offense to the Dragon Quest franchise. So I was a little behind. I would say in the show, eventually I did watch some of it. I had a long drive to school, so it didn't quite work out to get home to see those things, and no cable or anything. So I was way behind on the show, but I got through show and video games like essentially that second session, second influx of Pokemon. To this day, Pokemon Crystal is my favorite, and I played that on the Game Boy Color. Sorry, that was a spoiler alert. It's my favorite. Were we going to talk about that someday? I probably played that
Sure.
on the Game Boy Color through high school, and after even in high school, I fell off the train a little bit, even though I still kind of had friends doing it. Like it wasn't a social thing; it still would have fit my friend group fine. But I was starting to get into other activities, and then in college, I didn't take the video games or anything with me. But I want to say that one thing that got me started, probably more than anything else, like that got me before I had the game, before I was watching the show, was this beautiful, wrinkly old Alakazam
Oh
right
God, he's
here.
beautiful.
He's he touches my heart. He's so he's so pretty and mustachioed. That's like probably the first card I remember pulling out of the pack that looked distinct or cool from the other cards because it was hollow, had a little higher HP. So even though I didn't know the game or the Pokemon yet, I had a pretty good idea. I was like, no, this guy's good. He's cool. And he had the Sabrina trainer name in front of him, and I didn't know what that meant yet. But that was cool. So I remember pulling that one out of this bag that my mom got from a garage sale. He was already wrinkled
Beautiful.
and worn. I was like, that other kid loved him, and I'm gonna
He was
love this one
loved
too.
already.
Yeah, so he was gonna here, and then me and my brother divided the bag, and he was younger than me, so I made sure I rigged it to make sure that I got this one. I got to pick first because I was bigger.
Perfect.
So,
Let me follow Shawn and tell you the greatest tragedy that's ever happened to me in my life, and
oh no, not my
maybe that
heart
had
right now.
something to do with it. I when the Pokemon cards first came out, I was an avid collector. Oh, I have two tragedies.
Oh no, I didn't know which one you were gonna
The
tell, but
first one, I think you've heard both of them. The first one was I had been a bit of a collector of the Pokemon cards, and I came across the most beautiful card I've ever seen, which has influenced probably to this day my favorite Pokemon of all time, which is Cloyster. That's not the one. I don't. Well, actually, that might be the one. That might be the card that I desperately loved so much. So this is what happened, friends. I had this person who I knew who also collected Pokemon cards, and I really had only been collecting them, but he had been actually like battling with them, etc. And he he forced me to do a battle, and the prize was your favorite Pokemon card, and right then I should have known it was rigged, but I lost, and I lost Cloyster, and that was the most upsetting moment
I know it's.
of my life.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at your pain.
It's so
I know
terrible.
I know it's not the same, but I want you to have this, Jesse, as a token, as a token of your childhood misfortune, and for doing this with me. I have maybe 300 cards left. At one point, I probably had
This is the
a
kindest
thousand.
thing anyone's ever done for me.
Is give you your childhood cloister back. It's
Oh
not the
God,
same one. I didn't knock
I
off
don't
any
care.
kids.
I'm so happy. I wish I would go back and punch that kid square in the face today. Jesse now is not Jesse then. I would beat the shit out of that kid for that cloister card. I would do it today to a 10-year-old to get that cloister card back, god damn it. And
20
then
something year old Jesse, would you, I won't give
I
away your
would go
age,
to
would beat up
prison
a I
for
threatened
this.
to I threatened to punch a baby yesterday, so I know where you're coming from. A fake baby,
Exactly.
not a real baby.
I
So at one point in time I had like 3,000, 2 to 3,000, give or take, and I've trimmed it down to 300. I don't have any memories that powerful with any of these 300, but I'm going to pretend that I do as an excuse to not get rid of them. So I would love to deliver a cloister to you the next time
that
that
is
we're
so
not stuck
beautiful.
in our homes.
I would love that. God, you're breaking my heart in the good way.
But breaking your heart in the sad way, you have another sad story to tell, I think.
I do have another sad story,
Okay,
and
we're
it's
gonna have to put like a
when
big alert on this. Like,
I
listen, this
know
episode is a
tragedy,
tearjerker. It's
trigger
gonna.
warning, crimes against your childhood. Um, my mom, when I was in college, like the first year, had a yard sale, and the most frustrating thing about this is we lived in the middle of nowhere. So like it seems like no one would even come to that yard sale, but they came, and my mom, like the stupid bitch she is, offered up not only my Pokemon cards, but my Yu-Gi-Oh cards, all of them gone in the blink of an eye. Brutal. Oh, there you go. Actually, as we talk
Sorry,
about
I'm
this,
still laughing because you called your mom a stupid bitch.
it's true. And the brutal truth of it all is, as we're
Oh my
talking,
god.
I'm realizing the dark truth about why I fell away from Pokemon. And the dark truth is, I think at that point in my life, I might have liked Yu-Gi-Oh more, which is shocking to me now. But I think I did. I'm so sorry for that crime. Um, I'm sorry.
For days, right here.
Oh God!
You give for days. And hey, I run when I play for real. Okay, I don't play Pokemon, but I'm actually, which it's weird because I'm a big trading card game fan.
The card
I
game was
know
hard.
I know
The
enough
Yu-Gi-Oh
about
card
Magic.
game was easy.
Yu-Gi-Oh is easy, and Magic is my favorite because it is sort of the most easy to pick up, like hardest to master, but easiest to pick up. I love Yu-Gi-Oh. I love Magic. I run zombie decks, so that Book of Life there, that was an early inspiration
Yes.
for me. Love them zombies, which is ironic because I despise zombies and all other forms of media because I'm scared and I have nightmares very easily.
I love Toon World. I'm a Toon World man. I blame
Pegasus is such a
Maximilian.
great
I
character.
blame
Yeah.
Maximilian Pegasus both for my sexuality today and my
Blame or
obsession
think?
with
I think
Toon
you mean
World.
think, Jesse.
I think I maybe the evangelicals were right. Maximilian Pegasus made me gay. I'm pretty certain. But I'm straying too far away. I shouldn't have walked into Yu-Gi-Oh. This is a Pokemon podcast.
No, but it's fine. It still fits in. I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh on the Switch right now, and I have, in a weird way, I have retained a better relationship with Yu-Gi-Oh because I played the game. So I didn't stick with the TV show at all. As I'm playing through the game, by the way, I'm sorry,
Yeah, and
it's a tangent, but
I love the TV show.
it's okay, and these are
It's so
related.
terrible.
I don't think anybody's going to be upset at us for jumping from Pokemon to Yu-Gi-Oh to Digimon. Like it's not that it's intertwined necessity, but that's an important part of our life. That's
It's
why
just
we're
things we
talking about
love.
this. But Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm playing through the game, and you literally play through the seasons of the TV show. It's a beautiful Switch game, by the way. Beautiful, not graphically beautiful,
Mhm.
in that you get to relive your childhood exactly how you would want to. And I was thinking to myself, hey, I wonder when I'm going to get to a point where I won't recognize the characters anymore because I will have stopped watching the show. And it turns out is exactly at GX when like all the characters grew boobs. Just every
See,
one of
that's
them.
also
They all got hot. They all grew boobs. It was so uncomfortable. I told my wife, I was like, I don't understand what happened, but this suddenly everybody is sexy, and I don't know that's weird to me.
hey, some of the original Yu-Gi-Oh characters were sexy. My Valentine, Mako, that fisherman dude,
But I don't like
hot as
fish
hell.
or oceans, so Mako wasn't of
Are
interest to me.
men.
Uh,
So I guess
I always liked the bad girl motif, so I was big on Mai. But then in that second GX season, it's like it wasn't even certain motif. It just every character was a female character that had boobs, and
oh
the
yeah, it's
guys
just
maybe not
the
quite as
generation
attractive.
you get to.
Yeah, but
Eventually that happens.
so that was a weird tangent. But I'm really glad we had that
Pokemon
talk
has
because that's
withstood that.
what's that?
Pokemon never entered a stage where all of the women suddenly became
It did not.
incredibly
It stayed
sexual.
pure, and
It did. It did.
well, except for Brock as a person. But that's what Brock was. He was like the outlet for that kind of
Except for
behavior.
Brock.
And so then you didn't have to acknowledge it in the rest of the show.
That's right.
I would
And
also
it
say
was
that maybe because
brutally
Ash
punished.
didn't grow up, maybe that was part of it, that he
See,
didn't
that's a
mature.
good
So
point.
I don't know. I'm shooting in the dark there.
That's a good idea.
What great memories. I'm glad you
See,
let me.
we're super excited for this because we love all this, and it almost feels like our childhood. I mean, because of our own fault. It's not like someone forced our childhoods to stop, but it
Right.
feels like we're getting to relive and continue them on, which is a lot of fun for us.
I will blame college for stopping my childhood. Like when I had to get a job and you had to make money and face those pressures, and then you force yourself to set some things aside. But as you can tell from I live in a closet. This
As
is my
Shawn
fun space.
set things aside.
This certain things, only a handful of every single thing I ever owned. But like work from home is like right here, and then fun things are like right here. But it's just a big closet, and so it's a lot of distractions every day. But yeah, I blame college. College made childhood go away for me, at least. Maybe different for everybody, different family lives, things like that.
It's
No, I don't know.
unfortunate we have to grow up and work.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Shawn and I work together, by the way. I
We
mean, not that
for
anyone else is going to watch this
for
besides people that we know, but still.
for one more day, we work together.
For one more day, I'm free, and he's not.
The only thing that would help make me feel better is if we were in the office together tomorrow, so I could give you this cloister. It is kind of serendipitous that I thought of this just now because I've been thinking about. I have like 4 or 5 blue eyes also, and one of them is a little like wrinkly, like you couldn't use it in game. And I was like, I'll put that in a case. And I always meant to use like a little sticky tack and put it in your Seto Kaiba's, your pop figures. I always meant to use a little sticky tack and put it in his hand.
That would
Just
be great.
like the slightly older, so it wouldn't ruin anything, but still would be
Kaiba's right over there.
still would be cute. But then we haven't gone back to the office anymore because hashtag
That's true.
2020. So
We used to work 10 feet away from each other, and now we haven't seen each other since March.
in a row full of the snarkiest, most beautiful work
beautiful.
pirates you could possibly imagine.
Some of them, though, we told them about this idea, and one or two of them said that's stupid. Can you guess who the first one was, Shawn?
Those
Anyway.
people are younger than us, Jesse. They don't have the long
They don't.
long ties to it.
They don't appreciate good
don't.
art.
They don't. I know which two said it was stupid, and they would say most of our ideas are stupid, and that's why I love them.
That's why they're fun.
That's why they're great. I'm gonna sit work pirates. They're work pirates because we get things done, but they're also very grumpy sometimes.
That's true, and there's also the risk of scurvy.
Lots of
one thing. One thing. Sorry. One thing that we're like one of our big goals for this podcast is that Shawn and I, like, the largest goal for us is we want to be able to keep going, and this is a good way to keep us accountable and like continue watching the show and talking about it with one another. I get so jealous because I follow all these amazing people on Twitter who they weren't like us, I guess, and they didn't puss out at the first opportunity. And they like know it and they're caught up on everything, and I'm just so jealous. And I have like these huge gaps in my knowledge where I'll talk to some of them like from the current games, and I'll go, who's this Pokemon? And they're like, oh, they've been there since, I don't know, Unova. I don't even know if that's saying that correctly. That's how behind I am.
That's a great. I know that I said, hey Jesse, we should keep this to X number of minutes, and that it's going to be my fault that we're like before that many minutes before we even start talking about the episode. I'll take the blame for that. I've got to edit it, so punishment for myself. But I got to ask then, like, what was there a thing that brought you back into it? Because for me, it was like Black and White, that series.
Mm.
And what made that series special was that when I got thrown in, there were none of the original Pokemon at all. So it was still
Ah,
a Pokemon game, but not in a nostalgic way. It was just an easy JRPG where I collected monsters that meant nothing to me. And the whole time I thought, these are so weird. And then when I went back and played Crystal, I was like, you
yeah,
know what? It was always pretty weird.
yes. And you know what? You're right because I bought Pokemon Sun, um, and played it for a hot minute. I actually didn't even finish it because
Me neither.
I started playing it and it was such a departure from the Pokemon I knew. The 2D, you're walking around, everything's so pixelated, and just something about that I loved so much. And it was so hard for me to accept this new reality that I just couldn't do it. But I think now I'd be able to go back and do it because the it's really the Let's Go Eevee and getting to replay Kanto again really sucked me back in. But a few things happened in between there, and one of them is that around like 2017, I fell really hard into an anime wormhole, really hard. I had not been watching much anime before then, except maybe like the Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli films, um,
Which are
which
kind of their own
uh,
category almost, you know?
right. Shawn and I are not experts about this, by the way. I
No.
would like to point out that right now before you come for us.
And I
We're
have
just,
no pride, so say
we
whatever
just,
mean shit you want to. That's fine. I'll just be like, you know what? You're
I
probably
do.
right.
Don't tear me down. Tear him down if you have to tear one of us down.
Please, I'm
I,
happy. I could use some tearing down. I'm always riding like up here, but we know in reality, I need to be down here.
so it's the getting to go through Let's Go Eevee and having that format in a region that I know so well was awesome, and I was just transfixed with the graphics. Every move and every attack by the Pokemon seemed so cool. If you've played one of the recent Pokemon games, or if you haven't, go get it and do Hydro Pump. Jesus Christ, that is the coolest fucking move now. I mean, it was already great,
It
but like
looks amazing.
it looks amazing. Ugh, that's what did it. Having something a combination of something I knew really well with a new set of graphics, and it just sucked me right back in.
I got black in like 2014 or 15, like I was a couple years out of college, and I just like finally had some disposable income. Picked up the DS at a garage sale. I was like, hey, I haven't played a Pokemon game in a while. When I say that there was no Pokemon crossover, I mean that there was like zero. So, but I think that actually helped. I jumped
Is
into it
that
thinking,
true? Oh
yeah,
my
there
god!
at least in the early going. Uh, so when I jumped in, I actually think it almost helped because I was jumping in thinking, you know, it's probably stupid. I'm not even gonna like it. But then I was playing with all these Pokemon I didn't even care about, and I was still having a lot of fun. I was like, you know what? I lied. I still like the concept underneath Pokemon, even underneath the nostalgia. So that's the story of our comebacks. Thanks for indulging me in the comeback story.
Thank you. I love a good sob story, and this is a real.
This
We
whole podcast is going to be a roller
again,
coaster of emotions.
again, Pokemon did not abandon us. They were here for us the whole time.
The same damn ones are still the most popular
Is
today.
that a quick trip container? This is an inside thing. I'm sorry.
Jesse, you shut up. Quick Trip water is better, and you know it. No, this it's like 30% off refills or something if you bring in the cups. And I go to Quick Trip constantly. If you don't live in places where they have Quick Trip, it's a gas station.
Shawn's got that, and I'm here.
I partied too hard last night, so no
Here
fun
at
for
the
me to
hour,
just
and
regular water.
well, my kidneys are always perpetually hurting, so that tells you who I am. But that
We love Pokemon and boobs. Yeah, let's do this.
really checks a lot of my boxes. Uh, so
Almost said boobs. I don't know why, but I mean that's fine. It's always on the brain. But I almost said
I
Pokemon and
I
boobs.
I don't love boobs. I think one good thing that Shawn and I bring to this is that I am a homosexual and he is one of those straights. So there are some things that we do approach differently.
On Twitter the other day, you said to all those of you who are not gay, my condolences. And I just liked it.
True.
And I thought all day. I was like, what's the perfect comeback to that? And I was like, nothing. There's no comeback. I
You're
can't
right
say.
because we're better. Sorry.
Well, I was
It's
gonna say
fact.
anything that I tried to come back with would just sound offensive, and I would never want to offend you. But What can I say? Is
That
it
too. That's how we win.
just a picture of cleavage? Is that what I put there? Like, what do I do? I don't know. I don't know. So I just liked it, and then I went away and rethought my life decisions. Jesse,
See,
you made it
Sean's
happen.
a good ally. He just likes my post that's demeaning his sexuality, and he just keeps going. I appreciate that, Shawn.
As a white suburban straight male, I can afford to have my life choices demeaned every once in a while.
That's true.
It's
Shawn
probably
is
my
good at
turn.
this. He's not an asshole. He knows what he's talking about these things.
Stop it.
But I think we are, um, as Shawn said, we meant to go into the episode eventually. Are some Pokemon history first, I think.
I keep derailing it, and I'll take
We
all the
both
blame for
do.
that because I talk a lot. I have just some real quick history. If you
However,
want,
also, if you're listening to a podcast, you like to listen to people talk. So this is on you, really.
that's true. It is kind of your fault.
Yeah. You signed up for this.
If they leave this podcast, Jesse, I guarantee it's not the conversation. It's either going to be the part where I started talking and they heard my voice. That could be the first part, or the second part where they're like, "Oh yeah, I didn't realize this is about Pokemon. It was an accident," and then they leave. Then that's when they're going to
Sure.
leave the
We're
podcast.
having fun. So
It is a delight to hear another human voice and to see a face and to put them together, even if it's not in person. Someday it'll be in person. We'll get hammered. We'll do it. It'll be a blast.
that's true. Look forward to that day, friends.
I am already looking forward to that day. I do have just quick facts. If you need a full history, it sounds stupid, but if you've been there, you already know. Just go to Bulbapedia. And Bulbapedia has a history of the universe, of the games, everything related to Pokemon. If it exists on the
Everything.
internet, it's somewhere in Bulbapedia. So just go there. I don't want to mess with that stuff. Just a basic timeline so that Jesse and I could chime in with like, hey, yeah, that was meaningful to me here and there and such on. February 27th, 1996. It is hard to believe, but it is that old. That was Red and Green coming out in Japan. Just Game Boy games, but they were enhanced for the Super Game Boy. Jesse, I don't know if you remember what that is, the Super Nintendo Game Boy player. So
Yes,
they were enhanced
I
for that, so they
do.
had a kind of underlying color palette. And the reason I bring this up is because A, I was in kindergarten. Holy shit, Pokemon is old. And B, that the games came first. The idea spawned, I forget his name. I'm a terrible fan. Jesse, we're already ruining. What's his name?
Oh God.
I'm a horrible human. The guy who made it, who thought of the games, was
We
invested in bug collecting.
we
It's
thank him for his memory and his work, and we're
and
sorry.
and we can Google his name in a moment and think about it. But it's a very common story. We're not saying anything anyone hasn't said, but it was inspired by bug collecting. I just want to point out that the game came first because unlike other things where it's a TV show came first to sell toys or this came first to sell games, the game usually doesn't come first in this type of stuff. Usually it's a toy or the
Right.
card games happen and then the show happens to sell the cards or something. Game first, and that's very important, I think. So
This guy, who we cannot
we
remember,
can't. I gotta Google.
he
It's
had,
killing me. I'm sorry. I
he
gotta
had
Google it.
always. Yeah, thank you.
I'm
He
not
had
cutting this out
always
either. Everybody's gonna see me be stupid.
good. We should be shamed for this. Um, he not only was he like he had a history of bug collecting and having this life experience, but he also just loved arcades and video games. So that's why he went to work for. I'm blanking on that too.
Game
We're not
Freak.
experts. Game Freak. Um,
I'm gonna verify that on Wikipedia really quick just to make sure. But the name I
Perfect.
came up with was Satoshi Tajiri.
That's it.
Satoshi Tajiri.
That's it. Sorry for butchering the Japanese guys.
You know, we're
Tom
not.
did a good job.
I'm trying my best. I do play enough Japanese games, but I don't talk to people about Japanese games a whole lot, so I'm gonna butcher it. Also, want to say we're not gonna claim to be experts on the history or anything. We're just pulling it all off of Bulbapedia, and that's all we got. So Tajiri evolved a magazine into a video game development
Yep.
company called Game Freak in 1989, the year I was born. So this was all in the works a very long time ago. So October 20th, 1996, so a little later that year, trading card came out with 102 cards in Japan. There were 138 monsters between that original set and then a first expansion. And the other Alakazam card, not my Alakazam card, but the other one is the very like the number one card in that set. November, first manga, and Bulbapedia actually calls it a gag manga, which sounds a little weird, featuring lots of crude humor and slapstick. So I thought that was pretty funny. The first manga was a gag manga. April 1st, 1997, anime series, still in Japan. And then eventually, in a more common manga, probably the one that Jesse is reading right now, came out in October 1997. Magazines, a store in 97, 98. And then finally, in 1998, September 1998, we got the anime and the games. Got the trading card game a little later. The manga finally came here. That first one, again, I think you're reading right now, about a year later, September 1999. So we got everything, whereas a slower build in Japan, it all turned around really, really fast in America. Don't quote me on this. I believe that Bandai had a huge role in it and said, hey, this is the kind of addicting stuff that we think is going to sell well in America. So I think they had a big role in getting as much of it as they could at once and hauling it over.
They were right.
That part written down. They did. Again, crack cocaine for children is what it is.
Yeah.
So as we go through this podcast, I'm sorry, Jesse, do you have any history? I can't pronounce words. Do you have any history to add or anything that you would have liked to hear date-wise?
No.
Just wanted to give others. As we work through this podcast, we're going to use the TV show as a chronological base, but we are going to try really hard to invest ourselves in all manner of Pokemon. So, the TV show, we've both been playing the remakes of the original games, and we'll try to work our way through the games. We got to pace ourselves because we do have lives, and then Jesse is currently reading the manga. They don't all line up perfectly, but we're going to just use the show as a guide, as a pace, to give our episodes some structure every time we publish. And
to attempt.
And as an excuse to talk about the whole shebang. And that's all I got to say about the history. If Jesse has no additional thoughts on the history, I am so excited to talk about the first pilot episode of Pokemon. So
beautiful. So it's Pokemon I Choose You. We're introduced to Ash Ketchum of Pallet Town. Ash has just turned 10 years old, and as a 10-year-old, he can get his Pokemon license and get a starter Pokemon from Professor Oak, the local Pokemon professor, because Ash Ketchum is just that lucky to live in a town with one of the world's greatest Pokemon professors just down the road. Of course, Ash stays up late past his bedtime, and his mom chastises him. And after Ash goes to bed, he dreams about the Pokemon he might get to catch. So, opportunities, as you know, if you played red or blue, or even green, your options. You have Charmander, the Fire Lizard, Squirtle, a Water Turtle. I mean, a turtle who lives in the water, but is also a water Pokemon. And Bulbasaur, the little onion dog Pokemon. So he dreams about these Pokemon, and dreaming about these Pokemon causes him to throw his alarm clock against the wall, which breaks. He oversleeps, and he wakes up, panicked, still in his pajamas, races to the Pokemon laboratory, where, surprise, surprise, all the Pokemon have been taken.
I have to interject with a funny story just to self-deprecate further. And it may not be fun. It might only be funny to me. When I was younger, I didn't get that he threw the alarm across the room and it broke, and that's why I didn't get up. So I was blaming that fucking Doduo the whole time, or is it Dodrio?
I don't remember.
That crows on top of the... I think it's a...
Dotrio. I think it's a Dotrio.
I think so too. And that was... I never made the connection that's because he threw the alarm, because we woke up super duper early and rode to school with my dad. It was like a half an hour away, but there's a long bus ride and stuff. So we woke up super duper early as a group. So my mom always woke us up. And so I didn't have an alarm till I was like...
Where was Ash's mother? She was so worried about this. I just thought about that, and I have a bone to pick with her. I
tangented. I apologize. Go ahead and pick back up. I'm sorry.
We get outside the Pokemon Center, and there's this huge crowd for Gary, Professor Oak's grandson, who is the world's greatest asshole, who just does not deserve any of the attention that's lavished upon him. He already has cheerleaders, and he's an asshole to Ash already. Ash finally gets past Gary and his throng of adoring fans. Professor Oak, as he is a bit of a bitch, and lets Ash, this precious 10-year-old who's dreamed of nothing but becoming a Pokemon master, sorry, go through each of the Pokeballs to discover they're all gone. Of course, Ash is brutalized. He wants a Pokemon. So Oak says, well, there is one more, but it does have a bit of a problem. And this electrifying introduction is Pikachu, the electric mouse Pokemon, who turns out to be a bit stubborn. Not only does Pikachu not want to live in its Pokeball, Pikachu is not that keen on Ash as its potential trainer. Ash basically has to drag Pikachu halfway between Pallet Town and Viridian City, where, Ash tries and fails to catch his first Pokemon, and in doing so, incites a flock of Sparrow, Spearow, not Sparrow. That's the
Sparrows would
real
be
live
much less
version.
scary, yeah.
They are very much less scary. And Spearow, the flock of Spearow, of course, chases Ash and then turns its attention to Pikachu, hurting Pikachu, and Ash, in one of his good moments, takes Pikachu, runs away, ends up crossing Misty. The first time we see Misty, all we know at this point is Ash steals her bike. So we meet Misty briefly. Ash tries to escape from the Spearow. He is unsuccessful, and he gives this great monologue to the Spearow.
In a tree.
He just refuses to let them not know that he is Ash Ketchum of Pallet Town. He is going to catch all of them. And the Spearow fly at him, and Pikachu, and this is the first time we discover that this Pikachu, for whatever reason that's never explained, is no ordinary Pikachu. This Pikachu is a fucking nuclear bomb. And
you mean they didn't explain that in your promotional video in the Science of Pikachu? Why this Pikachu was extra sparky?
They don't. And I want to know why, because
I do too.
Later on, of course, we find out that this Pikachu is so valuable that Team Rocket is obsessed with this one electric mouse. But anyway, getting ahead of myself. So Pikachu saves Ash and Pikachu, and Ash prepares to continue to take Pikachu into Viridian City to the Pokemon Center, where, following the thunderstorm, looks up and sees a Pokemon, a beautiful Pokemon above a rainbow, who we will not learn the identity of until the next land. So that's it in a nutshell. We don't know what happens to Pikachu in that first episode. All we know is that Pikachu stood up for Ash because Ash stood up for Pikachu, and it seems like their relationship is headed in the right direction.
It's because Pikachu heard that killer monologue.
He did. It moved Pikachu's little Pokemon heart.
So let's exchange some thoughts about this episode, chat. Would you like to go first with some thoughts on this one?
My largest things I've already mentioned. His rival Gary is a great asshole, and I hate him very much, and I don't understand why everyone is flocking around him, and he has cheerleaders everywhere, and he travels in a convertible with the cheerleaders with him, and there's some nepotism going on there, I suppose, because his grandfather is a famous Pokemon professor.
It is so weird to have a 10-year-old boy surrounded by women driving around in a convertible.
Well, it's an anime, I guess.
Being an asshole. You're right. Maybe in anime it's not that weird. We talked about Pegasus. Okay, so Pegasus, good villain, good story, nice motivation. Villains in Digimon, for example, often not super strictly defined, but very lore-driven, very tight, and very good. And then you get to Pokemon, and it's Gary, and he's an asshole. But the more that I think about it, just an asshole for the sake of being an asshole. But I do think maybe he's more like Seto Kaiba. Maybe that would be a more fair comparison.
Except Seto Kaiba is actually good at what he does.
Seto is legitimately...
I'm not going to jump ahead as much as I want to.
You're right. We got to save some of it.
I'm trying my hardest right now not to.
But know early on that, Gary is just an asshole for the sake of being an asshole. That's it.
Another qualm I have is that Ash's mother, despite being so worried about her son, does not wake him up the next morning. And really, that would be the least she could do to make sure he gets up, gets dressed, gets there on time. I mean, he is 10 years old after all.
There are 2 rooms in that house. Come on, Mom. She has to sleep on the couch or something. Well, at least according to the video game, there's 2 rooms in that house. Come on, Mom. Wake up.
I'm waiting until we get to the video game to talk about my greatest pet peeve.
No, that's great. If you can hold, but if you can't hold it, let it all.
Hold,
This is the place, the
holding.
time.
What else do you think about the first episode, Sean?
Oak, Professor Oak. Got to talk about it. It's the best and worst part. What a piece of shit. To sit there and watch Ash open this poor kid in his pajamas, clearly having a rough start, and you're gonna sit there and watch this kid open up all three Pokeballs. You fucking know well those are empty. You saw those kids come by, and then just
You
let him
gave
get,
them to him,
and
to
then,
them.
and then he lets him get so depressed and beaten down into like begging. When you also know that you had another Pokemon back there, and Professor Oak is kind of a jerk. Uh, I gotta be honest. Professor Oak doesn't really get all that good until like Orange Islands, and then when they come back and visit him, and you learn a little bit more about him, and you see more of his processes. Up till that point, I kind of hate Professor Oak. He sort of sucks.
He's terrible. He's the
Yeah.
worst Pokemon professor.
I will say, like at the Orange Islands, when they come back and visit him, you get to see the whole Poke preserve, I guess, and all
That's
those
true.
Tauros that Ash caught. That's kind of funny. Later episode, he gets more relatable eventually, but his choices are crap. And then the so the Spearow hurt Pikachu, but then Ash also does steal a bike, and I thought that was funny. Is as a kid, is like, Mom, if my dog was hurt, I'm gonna go steal that chick's bike and ruin it. I remember being really weird about that. And then I was also remember being vividly upset, as I know we all were, that Pikachu just destroyed a crowd of Spearow, and Ash couldn't catch one of them. One?
Even when Pikachu, shocks that first Spearow,
He torched them all. Just grab
he had
it.
a
Come
chance.
on.
He had a chance to catch it before it even called for the other Spearow, but no, of course not. Why would Ash be successful ever?
You were trying to catch Pidgeys with a rock, and then your Pikachu does a tremendous job without your help.
If you can't tell, we're not we're not big fans of Ash Ketchum.
I try to remember that he is 10, and then I think, what was I doing at 10? Well, chances are that my nose was bleeding every time I got near chlorine because I was a weird kid. So a 10-year-old out in the real world just trying to survive on his own is it's hard.
It's hard, I
But he
guess.
knew, like he was trying to catch the Pidgey. He got the concept. He knows he was going to throw the rocket, hit the Pidgey, throw the ball. This is done. You just throw the ball. You don't have to throw the rock or anything. It's done. Throw the ball. Throw the ball. I am glad in the TV show. I'm glad that the Pokeballs are not disposable as they appear to be in in the games. Disposable Pokeballs sound weird. One use only. That's weird.
That's nice. I want to take a slight derivation here to point out in the manga, which I know I'm not saying right. I don't care. The main character is Red, like one of the options you could choose to name your character in the first video games. He's so fucking cool. In the very first like 2 pages, he catches a Nidorino like instantly, has no problem.
Not
But Ash
Nidorino
is just shitty as hell. And he's been planning for this his whole life, apparently, and can't even catch a Pidgey. Or a Rattata, which we see also. He's got the 2 easiest Pokemon that drive you crazy as hell in the first, in the first routes you go on in the video games, and he can't even manage to catch one of those.
It as a child, it was infuriating. As an adult, at one point, I maybe tried not to care so much, and then the more I thought about it, the more I cared, because like he was watching Pokemon on TV.
Yes.
And I'm trying to think of a good analogy here, but it'd be like, so I watched basketball for as long as I can remember. Basketball and football. Football is very complicated. I'll give you that. But basketball, you can just from watching TV, even at a young age, you can probably get the idea that the ball needs to go through the hoop, and then people clap for you, and you like that because you're a child and you like that positive feedback. And so if somebody gave you a ball and put you next to a hoop, you'd probably try to put it through to get the positive feedback. Ash has been watching Pokemon his whole life, presumably. He's got a room full of crap. It looks like my room full of crap. Throw the damn ball! And this is a constant frustration with Ash. He never like reminds himself that he also is supposed to be catching Pokemon ever, unless the idea of actually catching it is some ill-conceived harebrained scheme that isn't a normal way of catching a Pokemon. That's when he decides that he wants to catch whatever Pokemon that might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For such a long time, he is not a good Pokemon trainer.
Not even a little bit. Not. I was like, well, maybe he focuses on being good at battles, but we see right away that that's also
Not true.
not the case. So it's hard being 10. It's harder realizing that were we that stupid at 10, and I hope not. I hope not.
I hope not.
But yeah, so frustrating first episode, but the charming point, the point that gets you, is that when you find out from Professor Oak how many Pokemon there are, because we didn't have the internet, right? So for me, it might not have been my first experience because I came to the show late, but as a show designed to sort of sell a game, and then by the time it got to North America, that was also to sell the cards. That was your first introduction to, like, there's 150 of these bastards out there. And so then, if you weren't hooked on the show already just because it's charming and bright colored and goofy, now you're hooked on it like as a source of information pre-internet. So I absolutely have no issue. That's my dog out there going crazy at a squirrel. Sorry about that. So I have no issue seeing why it grabbed, millions of children.
Pokemon you see in that first episode. You see so many different types that you don't get their names. You don't get the only Pokemon like names you get are the Pidgey. Well, actually, I guess you get a few. But then we see like Sandshrews. We see Mankeys. We see a Ho-Oh, a fucking legendary bird.
Is that Ho-Oh?
Magical.
What?
Oh, I said it's magical.
I'll tell you. I'll talk about it when we get to the game. I don't want to jump the gun. I'm jumping the gun again. Damn it.
That's fine.
I don't want to.
Go ahead.
I didn't know, even after all these years, I didn't know that along that initial route in Fire Red and Leaf Green that you could go catch a Mankey along Victory Road. Like, it pissed me off that I was learning that just now. It's like, I never went over there and tried to catch a Mankey before. That is so depressing. But also the reason why we're doing this now, with the power of the internet to help us. We're not going to miss anything this time through. Going to get it all. Going to catch them all.
Gonna catch them all.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't say that first.
Nice plug.
Thanks. So, weird episode, but I totally see, even through all the frustration I remember experiencing as a child, but at least as a child, it was like a good teaser. I can't wait to see him catch his first Pokemon. I can't wait to see him win his first battle and stop being stupid, and seeing him tell Pikachu to do something, and Pikachu not just bat a Pokeball back at his face. So I absolutely get it. Wild episode. Do you want to move on to the game, or do you have any final thoughts on the episode at all?
No, I'm excited for next week's episode. And I say that because, of course, Shawn and I have already been ahead. But we're excited because we've been enjoying the episodes very much.
Been taking lots of notes.
Lots of notes,
yeah.
But the game, Shawn, I'll let you start with the game.
I will say that there's not much in the game that really aligns with the first episode. I would say it's that first, and if you've ever played them, you remember it vividly. Is that
make
first
it halfway
task,
up that route?
is Professor? You get to pick your Pokemon, which is all you care about, and then you try to think of the funniest name that's going to be hilarious every time you see it. So Boobs or whatever.
Did you actually nickname your Pokemon? I never did. I felt like that was blasphemy.
I usually would nickname my favorites. Yeah, I would nickname my favorites. I wouldn't nickname all the ones I caught. And then your character, you also have to name your character something hilarious so you show your friends and they laugh. That's the important part. And then the actual task, the only thing that even kind of lines up, because the next episode is when they actually get to Viridian City. The first one in my mind, I brought that package to the store in Viridian City, and then they have you take something back to Professor Oak. And then after you do that, then you can go back to Viridian City and you can finally get Pokeballs. So I leveled up a little bit. I delivered the package back and forth. And
You're a postman. That's all you are.
You're just a little side quest is all you're at that point. But most importantly, you pick your Pokemon, just like it's important for you and I to discuss now, because I think we all know that Bulbasaur is the proper choice.
I was a Squirtle man myself. Unless, of course, you're playing Pokemon Yellow, and then you really get to live Ash's journey, which is a blast.
And it's so cute that he gets to follow behind you. I love
That
that.
is very cute. It
It
is a
got my heart.
gift.
I love that in the remakes. I don't love the remakes because I do hate the battle mechanic. I don't like the ball throwing. I'm a JRPG guy. Remember how important that
Yeah,
was to me,
I
Kyle?
agree.
And so I didn't love
If I'm
that
gonna
part.
catch a Pokemon, I gotta weaken it first.
I
God damn
do. I
it!
want to hit it just right. And I like Pokemon Go, but as Pokemon Go, I want those to be separate experiences. But in the
Right.
remakes, I love that you can pick the Pokemon that gets to follow you out of the Pokemon. And I always stick with Eevee because he looks like the cutest little dog. But I love it. It's great. And so, yeah, I always went Bulbasaur. I believe you were a Squirtle guy.
Squirtle.
I like Leech Seed a whole lot. It really bails me out in some of those
As
early.
as Shawn knows already, my Pokemon type, I'm an Ice type through and through, and I can't choose an Ice Pokemon off the bat. But later on, I can teach Blastoise, Blizzard, and Ice Beam, which makes him an Ice Pokemon as far as I'm concerned.
In here, he becomes a nice Pokemon.
He does in his heart.
The Leech Seed I use so because I overpower Bulbasaur right out of the gates because that's how I play JRPGs. All of them. I like to get OP, but then you have a hard time catching Pokemon
Yeah.
unless you just let Leech Seed do its work, and then you use those stupid status effect moves that nobody ever uses,
Right.
just to waste the time. And then eventually you're gonna catch that Pokemon. It's gonna happen. So
That's gonna happen.
I maybe Bulbasaur not so much because he looks like an onion frog dog, more so that Leech Seed is that valuable of a move. So yeah, great. Did and you any other thoughts on the video game, like what how that might equate to the TV show, if that's the right part to stop on?
I just want to point out the consistency with while you're in between Pallet Town and Viridian City, you see the most annoying motherfuckers, and that's all you see. You see Pidgey, you see Rattata, because even in that little short, that's all you see until you get to a little past Viridian City, like Victory Road, like Shawn said. You're lucky enough to find a Mankey, maybe a
Finally.
Bellsprout in the next like path beyond that. But in that first stretch, it's just those stupid birds and mice, and it's so frustrating. Just like Ash,
Just it actually, yeah, that's a beautiful
pretty
carryover.
close.
I have convinced myself that in my old age, I do not have time to mess around. So
No,
when I play this game, I keep the wiki open to see the max level Pokemon that I'm going to catch in any given patch, and I
ah,
don't catch one until it is that high. I'm not going to waste time leveling
that's a
these little
good point.
bastards up, okay? And then I also have a pretty good idea from memory, not so much from the wiki, but which ones, like, if I go, 2 or 3 more hours of gameplay down the road and I'm going to catch the
Yep,
evolution, like, I'm not
yep,
going to bother evolving my Pidgey. I'm just going
same.
to OP my Bulbasaur and let him evolve, and I'll worry about a Pidgeotto a separate time. Because I do have to catch them all. I won't play unless I try really hard to catch them all. But I'm gonna efficiency, or gotta stick with efficiency. I'm old, gonna die soon, Jesse. I gotta keep things fast.
I would like to point out one thing that I'm going to bitch about every time we talk about the video game is
Please.
that there is a housing problem in the video
I'm
games.
so
There
glad
are
you pointed this out.
2 houses in Pallet Town, and yet there's like all of Professor Oak's lab assistants. So he's got these unpaid interns
Like
probably
10
sleeping
of
in the
those
fucking
slaves just
basement.
running around in there.
Yeah, but it's a notorious problem in the games. Bless you.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna bring it up every single time we talk about it. So be prepared.
These are unpaid interns. There's nowhere to live. What are they doing? What are they?
It's
It's not.
criminal.
It's not Final Fantasy. They don't have tents in their back pocket. Okay.
Exactly. There are so many housing and labor violations going on in the Pokemon world.
The other complaint building into that you mentioned earlier, we should bring back now, is the idea that, like, instead of a house with rooms, like in Ash's house, there's a upstairs and a downstairs, and that's it. We don't see where mom sleeps, and
There's no bathroom.
nothing.
There's
There's
never
kind
a
of a
bathroom.
kitchen. There's a kitchen, I think.
Some of the more recent games have actually given the houses like there are other doors and stairwells you can't
Sun and
go up.
Moon gave some
So
doors
you're
and things.
like your imagination can work with you. But the
Hmm.
early games are like,
That imagination is still, like, better, though. That's still
yeah, it
important.
is. It's way better.
And last, maybe minor complaint is that thinking of Ash throwing rocks, I made a note here and I kind of forgot I made this note. Throwing rocks at animals, is that like an early sign of a serial killer, maybe? So it's really good
Okay, we gotta bring this back up when we get to the Safari Zone because that is something that has always bothered me.
A little uncomfortable.
Yep,
A
it
little
is.
uncomfortable.
It's fucking messed up. Quit throwing rocks at the Pokemon.
Especially for a kid that seemingly loves Pokemon so much.
Yeah,
Like he puts his heart out for him and then you're gonna
stop
throw
it.
rocks at its head? Come on,
But of
kid.
course, we're not going to delve too deeply into this philosophical vein because we know we have to fight them and hurt them to capture them. So
Which
we don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole because we're not going to like what we find.
and it's a rabbit hole that like every Pokemon podcast is probably touched at some point. But I'm gonna say it's something like if you voluntarily pick a fight with another human and you're sort of entering into a literally nonverbal contract but with another human. Whereas if it was something of a totally different not even species, because Pokemon of different species would fight each other, but like if something way bigger and scarier than you started throwing rocks at you without your prior knowledge, that to me seems a little sketch.
That's true.
I don't. That's the best comp I can come
However,
up
there
with.
are some Pokemon that I would definitely throw rocks at to get them to stay away from me. A
Oh,
Gyarados in real life? Fuck no. So
I
you stay in that water and don't you come near me.
I don't like water in general, so I don't have an issue with water Pokemon. I want them in my party because I gotta catch them all. But I don't like bodies of water. I'm not a fan. Can't do it. So, what a
So I
great
guess I guess uh that's great for the game and the episode. And as Shawn said, the big thing we want to do is, use the episodes to lead us along. So it's often going to be us just talking, way more than the content allows. Because as you saw, like this with this episode, quite a bit happens, but sometimes they just stay in one place. And like it's the opposite is true sometimes with the video game, where like you don't even make it up the first route. You just get halfway up there. Um,
anytime there's a cave or a dungeon where in the show they're just gonna blow through Mount Moon in half of an episode, like 10 minutes, and then in the game you gotta catch everything, gotta grind, gotta fight every goddamn Zubat in the place. It's a little disproportionate. But to wrap up, what I probably interrupted Jesse saying, sorry kid, is that we do also want to try to tie in some manga which Jesse has been reading, which sounds super badass. I don't know anything about it, so I'm gonna let Jesse talk us through however much he wants to talk through. I do know that the other day he showed me that Ash had who did he have cut another like zombie Pokemon just in half, like a zombie Arbok, and he had his Nidoran just cut it in half or something like that.
yeah, cut
What
it in
was
half. In half. I'm pretty sure that Arbok died.
I mean, it was already dead if it was a zombie, but it probably died
That one was not a
again.
zombie. That one was a regular Pokemon that he cut
What?
in half.
He
Okay,
killed a
so
he
when we
killed a
when
real Pokemon.
yes, when we get further along, I'm going to talk about certain scenes from that because it blows my mind. Also, Red is so much cooler than Ash because one, his number one Pokemon is a Poliwhirl that he met when it was a Poliwag because it saved his life because he was drowning.
Ash is Ash
And
is
early
throwing
on,
rocks.
it evolves into a Poliwrath, and of course, it kicks the fucking ass of everyone it encounters. And I love that. Give us
Ash is
more
like throwing
Poliwrath.
rocks at Pidgeys, and this kid's favorite Pokemon is like, I want this super hyper evolution of this Pokemon right here. I do really want to see. I don't want to read it because it's probably only in Japanese. But the idea of that original gag manga with lots of
I
crude
know.
humor
I
and
would love to
slapstick
see that
comedy,
too.
I want to
I
at
didn't know about
least.
that until you mentioned it just a moment ago.
I don't. I imagine it didn't come here, but we're gonna dig it up and at least look at hilarious
We're
pictures.
gonna find it.
Yeah. But for
We
now, I'm
will
gonna
find
shut
it.
up and let you talk for once and walk us through a certain portion of the manga that you feel is appropriate.
I think that's it for now. I don't want to give anything else away because they the first volume moves through things really quickly. So I think the only other thing I'll say is that in this version, Red gets there late like Ash and ends up breaking into Professor Oak's laboratory, uh, which is odd. Uh, and he gets caught, and it's a whole big mess. But the end goal is the same. He still walks away from there with a Pikachu. That's a nightmare. Um, and Red and that Pikachu finally connect. But here, Pikachu stays in its Pokeball. It doesn't like it, but he gets in there.
And you can kind of see it through the Pokeball.
It is so strange.
It's
I
weird to me.
messaged Shawn to show him that Pokeballs in the first volume at least, you can see straight through the top of them. So you can see the Pokemon when they're holding them, and it's so strange.
A little weird, but also easier to tell. I always wondered how Ash told when he
Yeah.
pulled. Did he have a
How
little
do you
Sharpie
know
on there?
what's in there?
I have no idea. So seeing through kind of makes sense, but
Makes
also makes
sense.
it sound like a little bit embryo or something. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So did he catch the Nidoran in this first chunk that you've mentioned, or is that still down the line? He breaks in, gets his
That's
Pikachu.
true. He catches that Nidoran immediately. It's like the first interaction you see of Red. He
Does he
doesn't
just throw a
even.
ball at it? Like he
Yeah,
does.
he doesn't even fight him. He just throws the ball. Done.
He's playing Pokemon Go. That was a
That's it.
foreshadowing into the future. He was way ahead of everybody.
But he takes care of it so fast, and Ash, as we said, can't even catch a Pidgey.
Ash, you worthless. You, in the words of Michael Scott, Ash, you ignorant slut. You outrageous.
Ash is terrible.
He is. He's the
He
worst. But
gets better.
he does. Unlike other characters, he doesn't grow in age, but he does learn things. He takes things with him. It's not a Homer Simpson, Peter Griffin scenario where every time you come
True.
back, you're looking at the same idiot you were yesterday.
Right.
You're
He
looking at
never
an idiot
ages,
who has
but he
acquired
matures.
knowledge. He does. He does. And I'm very jealous of that because I never did. Excellent. It parting thoughts, final wrap up from our whole episode, or
let's wrap up
open your hearts.
real quickly with Shawn. My question for you is: if you have to choose one Pokemon to have, and it's the only one you can have, who is it?
Alakazam.
I thought so.
So the card, of course, and then it's probably the card's fault, but I have always, and also the early games where it was broken, but that psychic type Pokemon and any of the cards with the purple background, just a good, deep, scary purple, always mysterious. So something psychic, first card has nostalgia. He's got a great mustache. Alakazam.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You know what? And I like a strong, independent woman. So Sabrina, that helps too. How about yourself?
And we'll get to Sabrina. Well, as I said, mine is Cloyster. Cloyster all the way. Bring me that terrifying bivalve from the depths of the ocean.
He's terrifying, but also cute. He's kind of pulling off both. He's not terrifying like some Pokemon later on actually get. He's cute, terrifying.
That's true. I just enjoy how Shelter goes from this dumb clam to this terrifying oyster. It's one of my favorite things.
I just got done with the episode that I'm watching in real life. So I'm, 50 or 60 in. And the episode where they're trying to figure out why Shelter changes shape when he clamps on to Slowpoke's tail. And they make it a big deal, but then they never actually. He's like, "Oh, it's symbiotic." Oh, yeah, that explains why it changes.
Yeah, it's just a Pokemon mystery.
Just a Poke mystery. Just like this is Pokemalarkey. That's the first time. Have I said the name yet?
We haven't said it until now. I was just thinking that. Sorry.
I wanted it to be a big reveal in the middle for those people that just click on it without reading it. Pokemalarkey rolls right off the tongue in my
I love it.
We had a lot of fun discussing names, and then we got to this one. It just felt right. I was very happy with it.
It just kind of sums up our just kind of general nonsense attitude about what we're doing. And also, Pokemon is filled with a ton of malarkey, so it's just what you get.
All right. This has been wonderful.
It has been great.
I have to go find that first manga so I can read it and not read it. So I can look at pictures between Japanese text and report back to you. And then Jesse has to go.
Can't wait.
Jesse has to go and level up his Squirtle so that he can teach Blastoise Blizzard.
That's true. That's what I'm working on.
This has been Pokemalarkey. My name is Shawn. That's Jesse. We had a lot of fun doing this, and so there you have it, Pokemalarkey episode 1. I had a lot of fun listening to it. I was doing some chores around the house, and it made me smile to hear our voices and our initial passion that we had for this idea, and how much fun we had in that first episode. We packed a lot of detail and a lot of thought and a lot of personal wants and needs into that kind of really long introductory episode. It was a pilot episode, but maybe a little more. It was very kind of exposition heavy about us as people and what we wanted out of it. And I really liked hearing that. As far as the episode itself, I think we've gotten a lot better. I liked our quality there. We had good enough, or relative, let's say relative to now, we had very similar audio quality. My room maybe didn't sound quite as good now as it does. I don't know, you tell me. We probably spent too much time rationalizing that we felt a little bad about some of the dumb things Ash did, whereas now we've gotten much shorter with him in terms of we've just accepted that, yeah, Ash is really bad at his job sometimes. So it's like we tiptoed around certain things more than I would care to. I love any time that we tie in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon. Those are both so important to me for the same reasons Pokemon is. So it was great to tie those in. And that first episode really is a banger. It hits you in the feels. You get good Ash, you get bad Ash, you get dumb Ash. That sounds kind of funny. There's a lot going on, and it's immediately engaging. There's that first episode like pulls you in so hard on wanting to know what's going to happen next, especially at the time as my first episode of Pokemon. I mean, I was just immediately hooked. I had to know if Ash and Pikachu were going to be friends, and if Ash was going to try harder to catch Pokemon, and if he was going to get good, or if this relationship was going to be messy the whole way, or what other Pokemon were going to be out there, even though I had some cards and maybe even some video game experience before I really dove into the anime. I can't remember. But I remember that sense of, I have to know what's going to go next. I have to follow up on this hook. And hey, that's what a first episode is supposed to do. So overall, I love the first episode of the TV show. I had a lot of fun re-listening to the first episode of Pokemalarkey. That was a lot of fun. And again, I hope you don't mind this. I hope this is a passable way to fill these weeks where maybe Jesse and I have emergencies, to go back and look at those very original episodes that we recorded like a year and a half ago, or a little more now even. It's kind of crazy to think about that. Granted, there was like a 6-month or even a longer break in there, but still doesn't feel like it was that long ago. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. If you did, I hope you enjoyed some part of it. If not, let me know, and I'm very sorry. I'd be happy to, commiserate with you probably. In the meantime, I'm Shawn Shaler. Jesse Lobbs, of course, says hello and wishes you all well as well, and we'll see you next time.